Aum Sri Sai Ram, offering my most humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of the Paripurna Avatar on this most auspicious evening. As we all know, today was the day that our beloved Bhagawan revealed his identity, his true reality. It wasn't a sudden event if we look at Bhagawan's history as a young child. Even before his birth, through several incidents, he revealed there were many opportunities that he gave to humanity, revealing his true identity. Even after his birth, musical instruments began to play by themselves. He would give out small gifts and fruits, pull them out of his bag and distribute them among his friends. Even at the Virupaksha temple, a few days before the divine announcement, he appeared at the Sanctum Sanctorum, at the same time appearing outside to his brother and sister-in-law. Through many such instances, Bhagawan gave brief glimpses of who he was. But it was on this day, 79 years ago, that he revealed himself to his family and to the world, uttering those divine words, "I am not your Satya. I am here to fulfill my mission. My devotees are calling me." He uttered the words, "Nenu Saini Teliyamu Nikkamuganu." Know that I am Sai, and know this as the ultimate fact. Kadu nanpatta mariyetti ghanunikaina. Pardon me. There is nothing that anyone can do to stop me. And thus began his mission, the avataric mission that there was no turning back from. As Bhagawan describes, many years later, as Bhagawan described, in a beautiful song, the lines which go, "Collar pin okkati jari kanupadu ledu, marpu kaligenu nadu." That was the day the collar pin was lost. That was the day change came. Change not for the avatar, but for humanity itself. When a guest comes home, there is so much of change that takes place. Things get cleaned up. Items which should not be there go buried deep into a closet somewhere to come out a few days later. Right? So much of change happens when a guest comes for a few days. Let us reflect, how much change do we have to bring when the Lord of the entire universe, Lord of the cosmos, the Lord of creation comes into our lives forever. In an interview with some of the waiting boys, one of the boys remarked, "Bhagawan, you can give us a job later, we'll talk about that later. But why don't you talk to us now and then? That is all that we crave for." Bhagawan was reading a letter at that time, looked up and said, "Do you think I have no better work? Enni lokalu chuskovalra nenu? Do you know how many worlds I have to look after?" And this was remarked as casually as, "Do you know I have to wash the dishes after you leave?" Do we recognize whose presence we are in? And Samarpan is therefore a humble attempt to get a glimpse into the glory of the phenomenon in our lives, the Sri Sathya Sai Avatar. A chance to revisit the glory, remember the sweetness, and receive his bounty. We are indeed fortunate to have completed 54 such editions in the divine presence. Today is a landmark day in our lives as devotees, and also a great moment for all of us in the journey of Mumbai Samarpan. On this 55th edition, We are indeed blessed to formally bring out the first volume of Sri Sathya Sai Bhagavatam, a collection of the talks delivered under the Samarpan banner in Dharmakshetra since April 2015. This book is a humble labor of love by the alumni, both men and women, but more so a shower of His grace, a fruit of His blessings and benediction. The Sai Bhagavatam is not a 400-page document, but a saga of human effort and divine grace when our will merged with His. Back in May this year, on the 50th edition of Samarpan, we released the cover page of this book. Today, we are fortunate enough to present the book at His lotus feet. Sharing this saga of divine chronicles that accompanied the publishing of this book, I now invite Brother Siddharth Bhatt, who has been a part of this journey from its very conception to today, right unto today, and will share with us a few anecdotes of how Bhagawan has been with us, has been with this book, right since it was a thought in someone's mind, and now is printed in black and white for all of us to witness. Brother Siddharth.
Bring my humble and prayerful salutations to our beloved Bhagawan's lotus feet. A loving Sai Rams to each one of you on this very, very holy and auspicious day. Loving Sai Rams to each one of you on this very, very auspicious and holy day. If I may pick up from where Brother Anush left, it was a thought in none of our minds in terms of, am I audible? No. Am I audible? Yes. So there was thought about this book was in no one's mind except Bhagavan's Sankalpa. Because somewhere end of December 2018 and the beginning of 2019, when some of us were in Prashanti Nilayam and we were actually having the blessings of Mahasamadhi, there was an inspiration that suddenly welled up from nowhere. If you think, if you imagine, if you visualize, it's our making. But when it suddenly wells up into you, you know it, it's not your thought, it is Bhagavan's Sankalpa. This is exactly where the first idea came from him. And it has been a journey of almost, I would say, not 10 months, actually 9 months. Since Jan and Feb first week onwards we began, today is October. So exactly 9 months it took. So there is a divine number attached to it. There are lots of divine numbers attached to this, and that is how Bhagavan keeps showing His presence in every step of making of this book. It is His book, obviously. To give you a recap, I don't know, some of you probably would have been there on the 50th edition of Samarpan 5 months ago, sometime in May, when we had our edition, where we actually launched the cover page of this book. I had asked a question then, and probably I would love to ask that question again to bring out the relevance of this book. How many of you have seen God in your lives? I can't see the last. How many of you have seen God? Can you raise more stronger? It's question on God. Yes, so many of you. Very good. And this is precisely the question which Swami Vivekananda asked to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And he was the only person who raised his hand and said, yes, I have seen God. And you imagine how many of them have seen God in this lifetime, isn't it? Aren't we lucky? Yes or no? Yes. Now same question if I ask again 20 years later, how many of you have seen God probably few hands will go up. Some of us would have become old, some of them may or may not be there. But 30, 40 years later, say 50 years later, when you ask this question, probably maybe 1% may raise who would have lived 100 years by then. And maybe 100 years later, by all means, none of us would have been there. And there will be nobody who would raise hand and say, yes, I have seen God. Give it a pause and just think about how lucky we are, no doubt. But there is a very, very important legacy that we need to share to the coming generations, which probably wouldn't have got chance to see God. In fact, quite a few people who come to Prashanalam today, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 60-70% haven't seen Swami still, who are coming, the visitors, not the people who have stayed there. The visitors of almost 60-70%. So I'm trying to extend 20, 30, 50 years, but within 8-9 years of Mahasamadhi, there are a lot of people who haven't got chance to see Bhagawan. And that is where this genesis or this idea of the book came directly from Bhagawan in Prashanalayam, that time is come for us to share this legacy for generations to come. So while we are having the Samarpan program day in and day out, this is the 55th month, we will have the session today as well. Lots of wonderful experiences, lessons learned that would be shared. We all will be privy to it. There would be a lot of people who would download the YouTube subsequently and see it. But how long the technology can support? Today it's a repository on YouTube where you can download all the 55 sessions and see it. But it's quite possible, the way technology is developing, probably that so-called permanent repository may be lost. And that's why when we analyzed all possible options, that what is the best way to give back this legacy to future generations, a thought came about, can we have a DVD? Can we have a pen drive? But all of them are still kind of, there's a chance of technology obsolescence which can kind of drive away. The only thing that gave us the answer which has been, standing the test of time is the book. Yes, there are a lot of people who will still say that reading habits are going down and probably nobody likes to read a book and all that. Perfectly fine. But time and time again it has been proven that it is the written document. The book is something which has stood the test of time. And that is where, if I can just take a leaf of what Brother Anush said, Sankalpa of Bhagawan, what we see today is actually being the fruition of it. I'm still not able to believe that book is being offered today because it's so fast and so quick in 9 months. Things have turned that today we are here. I would like to take you to a short journey in terms of what happened from month of May till today, because month of May we launched the cover page and this is the genesis which we just shared. When the book was being made, the manuscript got ready around Guru Purnima time. And Guru Purnima was a day on 16th of July this year, 2019. We prayed to Bhagawan that we get an opportunity to offer the manuscript of the book at his lotus feet in Prashant Nilayam. Little did we know that Guru Purnima is also Vyasa Purnima, right? It's also called Vyasa Purnima. It's Vyasa's birthday. And Vyasa was the author of Srimad Bhagavatam. We had no idea, we had no such plans to coincide this book called Sri Sathya Sai Bhagavatam with Srimad Bhagavatam, written by Vyasa and offered on Vyasa Purnima day at Bhagavan's feet. After the event was over, one of the brothers came up and said, do you know that this is an auspicious occasion when the entire story of offering on Vyasa Purnima day, a Bhagavatam on Sathya Sai Avatar was offered at his feet. So it was not a planned event. It came as a completely surprise, or rather I will say divine coincidence or coincidence as we call it, that he chose the day of Guru Purnima to offer this. Maybe we can show some photographs. Yeah, just hold on. Before I take you to the photographs of those of that beautiful moment, I have a story to say about this tray as well. In fact, maybe I can take a step back. You see the book, this is the manuscript of the book which was offered. When we actually took the print of this book and got it made, it came to exactly 387 pages. I hope you are getting what I'm saying. Okay, again the divine number. And once this book was ready, this was on 16th. So 15th evening, we were planning to see how do we kind of offer to Bhagawan on the morning of Guru Purnima. So I had a call with one of our brothers in the Sathya Sai hostel, Prashant Nilayam. Can you help us with some kind of a tray where we can take it to Bhagawan? It was 10 o'clock in the night. Now, you know, Prashant Nilayam, 10 o'clock is, the lights are off. But he was kind enough, he said, can you give me 30 minutes? Let me come back to you. I'll just check where it is available and maybe I can give back. 10:30 exactly he calls up and he says, brother, you are highly blessed. So I asked him why. He said, exactly few minutes back, that evening, they had got, the school hostel had got a silver tray, brand new tray, and they were actually looking forward to how do we kind of inaugurate this. And the moment they got to know such a kind of a book is being offered on a Guru Purnima morning, they willingly said, please take it. And it's a brand new tray. This is probably in the subsequent picture you will be able to see this. Yeah. This is a silver tray which is offered for the first time at Bhagawan's feet. Why I am narrating this is the way Bhagawan arranges for the event. Okay, the story is not just about the tray. Then what happened once we got the tray and we sat in the bhajan hall to be moving towards the Mahasamadhi, couple of brothers came and said, why don't you offer rose to Bhagawan? Now, as we had come from Mumbai, the kind of approach to Bhagawan, the way current students have, obviously was not there. That you are fully prepared with rose, this, that. So obviously it was not there. But those brothers said, why don't you offer? I said, how do I go out now and buy a rose and bring? He said, don't worry. 3 of you are there. I'll give you 3 roses. So I said, what about, getting? He said, everything is ready. We'll give you. Within a minute, they came and gave. Another brother walks in and says, why don't you decorate this tray so nicely because you're going to offer to Bhagawan? So I said, yes, we would love to, but how do we kind of, again, the way, the preparation honestly was not the way we normally do in Prashant Nilayam. So he said, don't worry, we will get it done. They got another few roses, then removed the petals, if you can go back to the previous, and then nicely decorated it with rose petals everywhere. Now 3 of us out of the Samarpan team were there, and we were just being a witness to the arrangements which Bhagawan was doing on that day, the book to be offered to him. So it is his book, his story, his leelas, which are being offered on a Guru Purnima day, and he is arranging so beautifully to make it a memorable event. Maybe you can flip through the few more photographs. So these are the roses that are being offered. Yeah, this is the book. So these were the golden moments on Guru Purnima that this manuscript of this book got blessed by Bhagawan himself, and the arrangements were done by him completely. Now coming to post blessing of this book, we had planned to launch this book in month of August. That's a human mind at work. Human mind always thinks analytical. Let me offer it on 25th of August. It was Krishnastami day. We thought it's auspicious and let's offer it on that day. That's a human mind's thinking. I'm just trying to give you a parallel of how divine mind, kind of ensures that he chooses the best occasion to launch it. Come August, incidentally, we got to know there's some other program being planned, so we missed the date and 25th couldn't happen. Then came September, because every month we have Samarpan on 3rd Sunday. So September we saw it was 15th, and we saw after the Anant Chaturdashi, we have a Shraddh period coming in. So now Shraddh period, we said, hold on, let's not launch on Shraddh period. So much we have waited, let's wait. So we said, let's do it in October. And October 3rd Sunday, incidentally, fell on the Avatar Declaration days today. Now thing is, these are very subtle experiences of Bhagavan, where we think we are good enough to decide the date of the launch of his story, but he has a better plans. And that's why one lesson we learned from this entire episode is, many times when we plan something, it may or may not turn the way we want. And we end up saying, God, where are you? Why are you not listening to me? You are not listening to my prayer. But when you patiently wait, the results are far better. And it's Bhagawan's own message that patience is bitter, but the fruit is sweet. And Avatar Declaration Day is no small day for us as Sai family, isn't it? It's a birth of an avatar. While we celebrate 23rd November of the birth of the body of an avatar, 20th October is a birth of an avatar. So the importance of the day and the timing of the launch is all in his hands. He beautifully does it, and it gives us a fantastic, beautiful memory for lifetime to have it. Now to sum up, as we were coming out with these, the entire journey, I came across one of a very senior faculty member or a professor in Prashant Nilayam, and he is incidentally the second chapter of this book which we will be launching soon. It is his experiences. He just asked me, Siddharth, you have been going through 55 or 50 or 52 episodes of Samarpan. Can you summarize one lesson or one thing that you learned from this entire journey of 50 plus episodes? And one thing clearly, I'm not talking from the book or anything. The one line, if I can sum up, is Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba can do anything. Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba can do anything. Why I'm saying this? Why I'm saying this? When you have a look at this book, as Bhagawan's grace, when you look at this book and you look through the experiences of this book, anything and everything he can do. There is nothing that is impossible to him. That is the sum and substance of the journey that we are lucky to have as a Samarpan team. And the book also, when we're going through the journey, repeatedly the message is coming, he can do anything. And all of us as a Sai family, we have got that Kalparuksh with us. Millions and billions of people are there. Few of us, all of us raised hands so happily. All of us have that Kalparuksh with us. And we just look up to him, connect with him and say, Bhagawan, guide us. He's just there to do. Leave it to him and he does it. This book has been a personal experience to us. Leave it to him, he does it. It is his book, he decides the date, he decides the launch, he gets his blessed, he decorates the tray, he arranges the tray, and he's here right in front of us to witness his own miracle. That is the sum and substance of the journey of Samarpan and the book. There are many episodes I can go on narrating. In fact, there is a Bhagavatam on Samarpan itself can be written in terms of experiences. But let me also take a pause and invite Sister Yogini to come up and share her experiences about this book. In fact, 70% of the effort per se has come from the Anandpur campus of Swami's University, which is the ladies' campus, and they have really slogged hard to do a fantastic job. Bhagawan has handpicked them, and they have really been I don't have to ask anything, it was just done. That's why I'm saying I was witness to the entire miracle being unfolded. So as a representative of the Anandpur campus, may I request Sister Yogini to come up and share those wonderful episodes with all of us. Sarah.
My humble pranams at the lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagawan, seated here in front of us and seated in the hearts of every one of us. Let me begin with a small Krishna shloka that all of us know. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim. Mukam karoti vachalam Pangum langayate girim Yatkripatamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam. The one who cannot speak with the grace of the Lord can speak. The one who cannot walk can even overtake huge mountains. This exactly is what happened in the journey from January till October, wherein just the concept of the book was there, that we should have this, the beautiful talks of Samarpan, to be reached out to a non-video watching audience, into a beautiful book that remains in our hand. Just as we read the Sai Satcharita, we should be able to read the Bhagavatam, the stories of the Lord. The next question that came was, who will do it? It's such a colossal task. The number of speakers that have happened, by then there were 46 speakers that we had, 46 Samarpans we had completed. At the rate of around, on an average, 2 hours to 2.5 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours. They are long talks. How do we get them from the form of a talk into words, into a soft copy? These were all practical things that we started thinking on. Who will do it? The task was totally new to all of us. We were not book writers. We were not anybody great in literature. We were not somebody who knew much of English language too. Who is going to do it? How are we to do it? None of the questions we had answers to. We just started with the will that we have to do this. And an intense prayer to Bhagawan to show us how to do it. And in the most simple way, we just began with our own immediate contacts, asking, will you transcribe this talk for us? There is this particular talk, will you transcribe? Neither have we done transcribing. Transcribing is whatever is the talk, you listen to it and put it into words. You type it into words. You can write it or you can key into words. So before we began asking the others, we wanted to have the first-hand experience, and we transcribed the first few talks ourselves and realized that it was taking much more than what we expected. Because we realized that transcribing even 5 minutes of the talk was taking around 15 to 20 to 25 minutes, 20 minutes at least, of listening and keying in. Now we had to depend on somebody who could listen sharply and also be quick at putting things down. So then we had to reach out to our appropriate contacts who could do this, and slowly there were some from the boys' campuses and our own contacts. One contacted the other, they contacted someone else, and so on and so forth. Slowly, you would believe it or not, all the 46 talks were distributed to different people across the globe. There were seniors from the Anandpur campus whom I have never seen. Most of the people I have never seen, I have never met. But it was through word of mouth that this spread, and everybody was so happy. They wanted to know how to do it. Then we had to tell our own first-hand experience of how the transcribing happened. It took hours and hours, long hours of work to do one talk with many errors in it. Now, if it has to come into a book, it has to be totally error-free. There came the next challenge, that once the talk was transcribed, now comes the editing. So then we had to form an editor's team. The transcribing talks started coming in. Whoever had problems used to call us and find out How do we do this? We used to have small meetings, conferences over calls, because everybody was across the globe. We had to match international standard times, Indian times. There were different zones. For some people it was not convenient late night, or it would be early morning, but we had to see some suitable time to get everybody together on a call to do this. It was beautiful. It was a new journey, which none of us knew how to go ahead. But the experience that the people had, listening to the talk, putting it into words, was amazing. Why? Because not only had they to listen to what the speaker said, they had to again put it down. Sometimes you miss what the speaker says the first time. You have to put it down again. That means we are reliving what the speaker has experienced with Bhagawan. We were reliving it. Exactly. Each of those people who was transcribing was reliving it. They came back to us over the mails, thanking us that the entire period in which they did this transcribing, they were in bliss because they were totally immersed in Swami. The experiences of Swami. It was beautiful. That period was beautiful in which each one of them took this work. Once the editors started their work, we realized that even the editing team had again their own bit of errors. So we had to go through another chief editor who had to again look through the entire document end on end. And we are really grateful that the present HOD of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, she gracefully agreed to do the editing for the entire book. Along, you know how a professor is in college, they have their classes, they have their exams, they have their papers, they have their schedules, and to get into a book and to give a commitment to do the book alongside with so many other things was not an easy thing. And we had to give her timelines because our timelines were extending. Guru Purnima went by, our timelines were extending slowly. But it happened. And it was beautiful. The entire experience was beautiful for everyone who was involved in this. Let me tell you the amount to which, one more thing I just missed out. When we realized that we were editing the document, we found errors, portions which were not transcribed. Meaning the speaker has spoken, but whoever had keyed it in had missed out a certain portion. Maybe they started somewhere else, a minute next later. So then began a new process. What was the new process? Verification. Another team to verify whether the transcribed content was in place. Then we had another team of students, present students from the Anandpur campus, whom the HOD gracefully helped us, and they were a huge team. They did the work very quickly. So you can imagine, why am I saying all this? Is none of us were experienced in this task. And how many hands came in together from different places to do this one beautiful work. So that at the end of 5-6 months, in fact Guru Purnima is around July, we began just late Jan. In those few months, we had almost done this first bit of 18 talks which went into the first volume. Even the cover page, one of the present students, we requested him whether you can do the cover page. Just somebody who knows a bit of designing. A beautiful cover page came on. You can see it when it comes in later. So every bit fell into place and the book was ready at the right time. One thing that carried with the whole episode of these so many months was that during the period when they were doing the work of the book, everybody was totally in sync with Swami. Totally in sync with Swami. Let me tell you just one instance which happened with me itself. There were so many such small things. I'll just bring this. This was once the whole editing was ready, the chief editor also had done, and the final copy of the hard copy first comes into our hands, and then we have to go through the whole copy. So we divided the work, and I had around 9 chapters to look through in a very, very short period of maybe 1.5 days or 2 days, less than 2 days, to look through the whole content for any errors on, perfection. Now, having some kind of a back pain at that time, I wasn't able to sit for long. So I had an intense prayer to Bhagawan, because we had to give it to the printer to be able to meet today's timeline. So I had a prayer to Bhagawan, please help to do this work in these 1.5 days or so, all the 9 chapters looking through. It is so beautiful that he made his presence felt. I can just tell you this small instance. While I was doing the reviewing of the book, I was playing Radio Sai bhajans along. Some Radio Sai bhajans were going on. And as I was reading the book, I reached a particular word in which there was a episode of Rama and the Vanaras. And I was underlining the word Vanaras. Let me tell you the timing in which I felt actually shocked with the amount of presence there. I was underlining the word Vanara, and at the same millisecond, the bhajan had the word Vanara coming in. You would be shocked that the bhajan is, I don't know when the word, because my attention is not on the bhajan but on my reading, and the word Vanara comes and I am underlining the word Vanara. That is the extent to which, that means that was a small indication that he was there with us every moment of this work that was being done. This is just one instance. Many of the ones I would just like to conclude with reading 4 to 5. I have requested some of my sisters and brothers to send me what they felt at the end of this whole episode of working with this book. And they have given me a few words. I'd just like to read it out to you. It was a blissful journey along with this is one of the sisters. It was a blissful journey along with the memories of the divine. This invaluable opportunity to share the message of bliss and love gave me moments of freedom from daily challenges of Mumbai life to meditate upon the glory of our beloved Bhagawan. That means they are away from Mumbai for some time, deep into Swami, when they did this particular work. Another sister said, in translating the intimate encounters of blessed devotees, each one of these chapters is having beautiful stories of Bhagawan, how he has touched that person's life. In translating the intimate encounters of blessed devotees, I felt like Sanjaya, who narrates the battle of Kurukshetra, especially Bhagavad Gita, to Dhritarashtra, to the world of the blind, spiritually unconscious. These stories will reveal the true nature of Bhagawan more than any scripture, and I am immensely happy to play a small part. She felt like she was Sanjaya, the role in between, to do this task when she was doing this book. Another brother says, I feel humbled and blessed to be part of Bhagawan's divine mission. Through this exercise, I got the precious opportunity to live in his palpable presence once again. What is the meaning of that? Throughout the time when they did this work, they felt they were in his presence. Another sister said, each experience gave tremendous amount of bliss and reference to our scriptures explained by the speakers as being the first-hand initiation by Bhagawan. It was just beautiful. There are a few more, but everyone has the same thing to say. In short, everybody said the same thing, that they were happy and grateful to do this task because it connected them to their Bhagawan during the entire period. And we're all grateful to Bhagawan, like we all actually felt like Vanaras in Rama's mission, where everybody just had a small role to do it, but that small role was very important for the book to land up today, ready for everybody. Sai Ram.
There's one important thing I forgot to mention is when we were done with the book and we were planning to come out what is a befitting cover page, because it's a Bhagavatam. It should look like a Pothi type kind of cover page. Out of nowhere, one of our youngest brothers who's currently studying in Vrindavan campus, and he's right here, Brother Anirudh, maybe you can just stand up and, yeah, it's okay. His brother Anirudh is the one who actually designed the cover page for this. And he has just arrived from Prashant Nilayam just a couple of hours back. He just arrived from Prashant Nilayam 2 hours back. Still not audible? Stand up. Okay, stand up. Everybody wants to see you. So each one of us, and we are nobody, we are all representative of this wonderful Sai family. So it's our collective offering to Bhagawan on this day. So may I start requesting, may I request few guests to come up so that we can officially or rather informally out of love offer this book at Bhagawan's feet. May I start with Mr. Nimish Pandya, All India President, Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organizations, to come forward. Then Smt Kamala Pandya, National Bal Vikas Coordinator, National Mahila Coordinator as well. Shri Anup Saxena, State President, Mumbai Metro Region. Shri K.B. Santanam, Secretary, Sri Trust, Maharashtra. Shri Ajit Popat, who is the 6th speaker and the 6th chapter of Volume 1, comprises his experiences. Shri Bombay Srinivasan, please come forward. He is also one of the speakers whose experiences are part of these books. Srimati Munira Banatwala Aunty, she is also one of the speakers. And Mrs. Roshan Fanibanda Aunty, who is also one of the speakers, whose memories, whose experiences are etched for posterity in this book.
Auntie, come.
If you see the cover page, the Bhagawan's photograph is actually on the hillock in 1967-68 when Bhagawan stood here, when he chose this land. So it symbolizes the talks delivered at our own home, Dharmakshetra. So let us pray together, and this is a collective offering from the entire Sai family at Bhagawan's feet on this auspicious day. And with this, may I request Brother Anush to take the proceedings. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Taking this evening forward, 20th October 1940 is not just the mark of the declaration of avatarhood, but also saw the birth of the avataric mission, the fulfillment of the Lord's divine purpose on earth, one that continues to be served through His dedicated instruments even after the departure of His physical frame. What better way then to celebrate this momentous occasion than to have with us His primary instruments, the All India President of the Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organization and National Bal Vikas Coordinator, to share their sojourn with the Divine Master, their portion of the Sai Bhagavatam. Now comes the difficult portion. How do you introduce someone who is known to everyone? Nimish uncle and Kamala auntie are no strangers to the organization or to Swami's devotees. In a city that has more than its share of celebrities and celebrity couples, auntie and uncle are our very own power couple and a role model to everyone here. I think almost everyone here, especially those of us who have been associated with Bal Vikas, have a very, very vivid memory of auntie and uncle directing our Ashadi dramas, uncle standing here and saying, next batch, next group, dancers, form a line, actors, form a line. But above all, my most vivid memory in those years as a young Bal Vikas boy was on the last day, the last practice, making each and every student sit down, close their eyes and say, pray like nothing else matters, pray like this is probably your last chance ever. Not a single moment with Bhagawan was ever taken for granted. Every moment, and they taught us to value every moment with Bhagawan and lived that way, which is why Bhagawan has blessed them to take his mission forward. To formally introduce them, as is a part of protocol, Sri Nimish Pandya is a practicing advocate at the Bombay High Court and is also the notary public of the government of Maharashtra. He did his graduation in law from Bombay University and has been practicing as an advocate of Bombay High Court since 1980. He specializes in the field of civil law in terms of litigation in the High Court and mergers and acquisitions and contracts. He's been on the board of several listed companies and has vast experience in the area of corporate law. He's currently the All India President of the Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization since the last 3 years, prior to which he was the All India Vice President for a period of 2.5 years. He first met Bhagawan in the year 1977 and his family was introduced to the world of Sathya Sai Baba through the Bal Vikas movement when his youngest brother Dharmesh was a Bal Vikas student. Incidentally, his brother's guru was none other than Smt Kamala Pandya. Over the years, Nimish uncle's two brothers studied at Swami's university. His father was teaching at the university as a professor of commercial law. We all know him as an ardent dramatist and has had the privilege of being part of a team that has performed several plays and cultural events in the immediate divine presence of Bhagwan Baba. One must say that Bollywood's loss has been the legal world's gain and our gain as well. Smt Kamala Pandya is also a practicing advocate of the Bombay High Court and has done her law from Bombay University, during which she was awarded the gold medal for jurisprudence. Prior to her law degree, she did her graduation from Mumbai University in psychology, for which she was awarded a gold medal. Her third gold medal was received from the divine hands of Bhagwan Baba himself during the graduation of the EHV course at Prashanti Nilayam. She's been practicing law for close to 3 decades and has specialized in personal law and M&As in her varied assignments. As far as the organization is concerned, she joined Swami's fold at the young age of 6 when she had her first interview with the family in the old Prashanti Nilayam environment. Thereafter, at the age of 17, she became a Bal Vikas guru and has since then been very closely associated with the Bal Vikas movement and is currently the All India Mahila Coordinator for Bal Vikas and Mahila Vibhag activities. Her marriage to Sri Nimish Pandya was performed by Bhagwan himself on 9 June 1983 in Prashanti Nilayam, following which Bhagawan visited their family home in Kolaba in 1984, blessing the couple and the family. I invite Auntie and Uncle to please take the stage. I also invite Brother Siddharth to come back and take the proceedings forward as the moderator for this 55th edition of Samarpan. Sai Ram.
Loving Sai Rams to the wonderful Sai family. Loving Sai Rams to wonderful Sai family.
Aum Sri Sai Ram.
I'm just trying to see whether people are awake. Well, I'm sitting next to someone who is emitting very powerful vibrations. So in case I don't ask right questions, please pardon me. You want to say something?
For a lawyer to be questioned is a very difficult proposition. Because normally we are used to questioning, not answering questions. Very well, I know Siddharth will do a good job.
Okay. At the outset, again, it came as a wonderful revelation to few of us that today is what a day when Bhagawan said, I am Sai Baba. Right? Everybody remembers that event when he threw the flowers on the floor and it came as, I am Sai Baba. What does Sai Baba mean? So I Baba, right? Divine Mother and Father. I think for the Mumbai youth, Balvikas, and many people, in fact, for generations, we have none other than Nimish Uncle and Kamala Auntie as Divine Mother and Father.
Thank you.
It's really about so many years, as what our brother Anush mentioned so clearly, that it's been so many years of experiencing his leadership, his guidance, his care, both auntie's care. And I think it's for all of us, for youngsters, the youth, I'm representing the youth. So there's no better person. I would not say couple. The mother and father of the youth of Mumbai is right in front of us. And they're divine because they are connected to us through Swami. So before I begin, I would like to narrate an episode how I got introduced to Nimish Uncle. It was in the year 1990 when I was in my 6th standard and we were all assembled in Aksa Agricultural Institute that we have there. And Nimish Uncle was addressing the youth, everybody, the youngsters, Balvikas, kids. I was yet to join Balvikas by then. So it was a wonderful interaction and he was narrating about when he was small, how studies, and the law is very difficult to memorize. It's not easy. You need a photographic memory to have that law getting into your head. And he used to struggle to memorize, and he narrated this episode that he prayed to Bhagawan, and Bhagawan very nicely, lovingly, as he always says, you study, I'll remember. And imagine 1990, today is 2019, it's what, 29 years, I'm still remembering that episode. That is how simple Bhagawan is, and yet is so close to our heart that he immediately gets things done for. That's why I said earlier, we have got a Kalparush with us, actually we should not forget. And he's there for us. And then after this episode, I met my Balvikas Guru in that same camp in Aksa. And it has been an absolutely blissful and blessed journey till today. Unfortunately, my Balvikas Guru is no more physically, but she's divine all over the place. So many times I feel her presence. And even when I speak, I'm sure she's listening to me. That a Balvikas child is sitting next to the National Balvikas Coordinator. Anyway, so that's my history, and that's how I got connected. And I remember, and there are multiple episodes where I got inspired by both Nimish Uncle and Kamala Auntie. And I think Swami did mention to you, Kamala Auntie, about the 3,000 children Why I said Divine Mother and Father. Maybe you would like to narrate that piece.
That was not to me. That was to him.
Nimish uncle.
Yeah.
I remember that incident. We were in Satyadeep on top, and that was the very beautiful moment when there were 3,000 children all assembled in the ground. And many of my girls, I see many of them were very, very small that time. They were there, and where's that little girl? She was somewhere in the corner. She started the program. There she is. She started the program with Ba, Ba, and Swami blew up like a sun. And he didn't know. There were so many children crisscrossing questions. And moment Swami saw Amrita there, he was like glowing like a sun. That whole function went through, and there were many dignitaries sitting there. The governor was there, the chief minister was there, and that was just 1 year after we were married. And suddenly Swami called me out of the crowd, and near the Satyadeep door, facing all, imagine 3,000 people, children are watching, parents are watching. I said, "Hey, come here." So I went running to Swami and touched his feet, and he says, "Kitna children?" So it was just the first year of marriage, and I had no family had started. So I'm looking at Swami because the governor is watching, the chief minister is watching, everybody's watching, and he's asking me, "How many children?" So I'm looking at Swami, I said, "Swami," I'm trying to say, no, I'm trying to explain to Swami, making a mistake. You can't be asking this question to me. "Nani, bolo, kitna children?" So again I'm flabbergasted. I said, "What is wrong with Swami?" Swami, "Nani, bolo, kitna children?" I said, "Swami, I have no children, no family, no children started yet." "Nahi, bolo kitna children?" So then I realized I'm in a wrong place. I'm in a complete mess just now. What to answer, I didn't know. Then suddenly Swami said my suggestion. "Kyun? ये 3,000 बच्चा तुम्हारा नहीं है, ये सब तुम्हारा बच्चा." I think that was the first lesson that Kamala and I got, that in the world of Swami, everybody in the organization has one task to perform. That if there is any big thing to be achieved by all of us, is to ensure that all children in every generation have the opportunity of touching the divine lotus feet or his message. And that is a commitment to all of us, which I thought when Swami spoke to me and to Kamala, must be carried through by all of us, that Bal Vikas is one of the biggest mission statements of Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and all of us have a role to perform in that. And the broadening of the vision, there is not my son, my daughter, all children are ours, all sons are ours, all daughters are ours. I think that was the message that came on that day, which came from there.
I think Bal Vikas was also instrumental to bring both of you together.
That it was, I think.
Yeah, actually, I was that time in charge of the academic section of Bal Vikas, and we also had the cultural section, because we were preparing for all the Ashadi plays. That time it was not yet Ashadi, it was dramas. So we used to have, right here in this very hall, group 2 camps, and then we would stay overnight and have treasure hunt and bonfire upstairs. At one such group 2 meeting, something happened and we came close to each other, and then Swami kept constantly reminding us to work together. So we continued, and today we are here.
I think I remember it was Balasaheb Thackeray must be remembered this incident, because that was the first convocation of the group 3 children that we had in Mumbai. Swami was in Mumbai, and that was the first time Balasaheb was the chief guest at the function. And Kamala had a chance to speak, because Indubai was very fond of her and he thought that she was a very good speaker. So she got the chance to speak. That day when Kamala spoke on the stage and the convocation happened, the first yellow gowns were given to the group 3 children, and she spoke brilliantly. So somewhere down the line, I'm very fond of people who speak very well. So there must be a spark of appreciation in my eyes, which Bhagawan caught at Shivaji Park. So that evening when we came to Dharmakshetra, I got a chance to offer a flower to Bhagawan, and I offered the flower to Bhagawan. He threw it back at me. He says, "Tumhara wife ko deo." So now that time I said, "Where wife? What wife? Who am I looking at?" And then he went straight to my mother in the crowd and he says, "Kabhi shadi karta hai?" So my mother also was surprised. I said, "What is Bhagawan talking?" He said, "Haan, Bal Vikas Guru hai tumhara daughter-in-law." My mother did not know from heaven who this Bal Vikas Guru was, nor did I know anything. But you see, he can also act sometimes as Cupid and create trouble for you also in life.
But there is a wonderful episode, in fact a hilarious episode that happened when Bhagawan spoke to both of you in a different way. Maybe you would like to narrate that episode, how you got introduced, as you rightly said till now, but to take the step forward in terms of what happened in Prashantalam in that time, when Bhagawan mentioned about him and Bhagawan mentioned about her to you. That was a very interesting episode, I guess.
Yeah, actually, when things started flowering a little, I would say, my in-laws, my father was very particular that unless Swami says yes, we can't proceed. So my in-laws were sent to Bangalore at that time, and it was Ramnavami. Swami called them for an interview. Mayur was there, the second brother-in-law. So he told, my mother and father have come with brother's proposal. As soon as my mother-in-law entered, he said, हाँ मालूम है वो लड़की जो बात किया ना शिवाजी पार्क में वही लड़की का proposal है. My mother-in-law just kept quiet. Swami said, नहीं वो नहीं चलेगा, वो सिद्धि है, नहीं चलेगा. दूसरा कोई भी लड़की लाओ, ये नहीं चलेगा. And लेकिन उनको बोलो साथ में काम करने को. My mother-in-law and father-in-law were very upset because what will they come back and tell us? Because we had confirmed that we wanted to go ahead. And this went on for almost 1.5 years. Every time he would say no to him, he'd come back to me, find me alone in the grounds, on the sand seated, and he'd say, देखो हस्बैंड आया, मैंने बात किया, वो जो बात किया ना वो नहीं सुनने का, जो मैं तेरे साथ बात करता वही फाइनल है. Each word of mine is a promise. Same boy देता है, Bombay boy देता है. Like this he kept on 1.5 years. He went on, and he'd give them interviews, and me he would talk in the lines outside. So to a certain extent I thought I'm getting a little paranoid or psychic, or I'm not understanding what Swami is saying, because he's telling him rubaru, literally, that not this girl, any other girl you bring, but not this girl. And then he'd come to me and say, you listen to what I say, my word is a promise to you. So I didn't know what to believe, and it was going on almost 1.5 years, and then he's telling us to work together. And insisting, साथ में काम करो, लेकिन अभी शादी का नहीं सोचो. Wondering what is happening, why is he forcing this to happen? But this continued for 1.5 years, and every time the same story. Bring any other proposal, I will get you married, he would tell him, and then he'll come running out and say, देखो जो husband को बोला नहीं सुनना, वही तेरा जो whatever I have told you is the final word. So we were literally I was literally pulling my hair at such a time. What is happening, we don't know. But still my father was like a stalwart there. He said, whatever Swami says, don't listen to anything. Only what he talks to, he will do it. So my father was a great...
I think it's important to note here, the whole incident had a message for all of us there, that whatever he does has one goal, to ensure that you learn that surrender to him is most important in life. And this is the basis that I think probably in Kamala's life, in my life, the saga of episodes that have happened, if I try to see the underlying current, the lesson to be learnt is that to be a true devotee of Baba, abject surrender to his will is the very, very important basis of that. Because if that doesn't happen, then probably we've not learnt a lesson. It's something which I've seen through various episodes that have to life, that his only mission in life was to come down on earth and give us all the experiences in whichever way we could bear, sustain, death. But at the end of it, to learn that you have to surrender to him, which is very, very important. In fact, my first interaction as a young man with Bhagawan, way back in 1977, was very clearly an interview which I'll never forget in my life, is because that was the first time when maybe at that point of time I didn't realize, but when I look in hindsight, that is the message Bhagawan has come to give to all of us. He picked me up when my mother and I went to Puttaparthi. There was Swami was not there, and so I had that great experience of reaching Puttaparthi in a bullock cart from the river Chitravati. We reached Puttaparthi and Swami was not there. So then again there was a bus strike. So we had great difficulty. So he made it very, very difficult before I could reach Vrindavan and have my first interview there. And moment I go to Vrindavan and I enter the room, the first thing he started was this: cutting off man from the world and putting him on the path of spirituality was the first sentence that he says, Kitna friends, kitna log tumko janta hai. Because I was very popular in college. I used to have a lot of friends. In fact, a lot of celebrities of that era were very personal friends of mine. Kitna friends, itna friends, acha nahi. Jeb mein paisa, if you have money in your pocket, we have friends. No money, no friends. And therefore, forget everything. Remember, there's only one friend and he is God. And he tapped his chest at that time because there's only one friend. So God has his own unique way of initiating you, taking you away from the world and connecting him to God. But then the challenge comes of you taking the effort of remaining connected is the main issue. And I remember very well, Siddharth, that as a young man, you don't have that maturity. So you understand that when he says, only one friend, God, I thought the physical form is the friend. But then God takes you to the next journey. He keeps you romancing with you for another 3, 4, 5 years and listens to you. You can talk anything to him. You can talk nonsense, sense, personal, like a friend, because he's told you he's your friend. So you can talk anything under the earth to him. And he responds also. But then suddenly one day he snaps because you're still on the wrong track. Because you haven't understood what friendship is. So he stops talking for you 2, 3 years. And then that pang, that separation, and that despondency, that look, I left the whole world for you, and now you are teaching me. You become like a male Meera by trying to sing your own little songs inside. That pang is there. But in that pang, also his grace, his mercy is there when he puts you on. And that's the time when he put me on to Balvikas in a real sense, to EHV in a real sense, to make me realize that this was not the physical body. It was that he was trying to tell me that I am inside you and look for you, inside you, inside you. And that graduation from the world outside to the physical form, to getting inside to realize that this physical form also is not the reality. The reality is his power inside you, is a journey that he takes you from time to time. And that journey is really to be achieved, very important.
Very beautifully mentioned. In fact, I'm recollecting what Bhagawan says that now with a bhakti, 9 steps to devotion. And what you said about the last 2. One is sneham, which is friendship, and the last one is surrender, which is the atmanivedanam. So, and this is a very important for, I think, quite a few youth who are here and who will subsequently watch this episode, is how to be a friend to Bhagawan. I think there are some experiences, since you have spoken about this particular piece, it's very important for youngsters, how to befriend God. Because it's very true, there is nobody, no better friend than him, because he is 24/7 accessible to you. There are some friends who may be available, who may not be available. Even to chat on a WhatsApp, you need a Wi-Fi but with him, you don't need anything. He's just a thought away. You think and he's around. So any specific messages or experiences on Bhagawan as a wonderful friend? Maybe if you can share.
See, one thing that we must remember, and I'm looking at Mrs. Fanipanda here, this one of the final messages which came from Bhagawan for my wedding was from Dr. Fanipanda, who Swami told Dr. Fanipanda, you go and tell that come for the wedding. And he came, and I, like a fool, excited, went running to Bhagawan. And Bhagawan says, go back, such a haste, such a rush, go back, I'll call you again. And I was pushed off from there. I remember Dr. Fanipanda laughing at me that time and having a big laugh at me, and I was enjoying myself. No, talking this back is that God, the only friend, that friendship is something that needs to be understood by all of us. Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, as I understand in my little experience, is one power that has come on earth to tell each one of us that he is a friend who's inside us and not outside. Therefore, it's my belief that all of us who are trying to look for Bhagawan outside in a photograph, in a mandir, in a place, are, I think, on the wrong journey. Because really speaking, he is the very breath that you and I breathe. He is the very energy by which you and I survive. In fact, the best way to make Bhagavan happy is in a 24-hour day, if you can remember him with every breath of yours, with every second of yours. He is such a passionate lover and a passionate friend that he doesn't tolerate even one breath of yours being away from his thought. Now I say this with great responsibility because this is the end, this is the parakashta of what friendship means. When you talk of friendship, you mean that friend is constantly in your entire being and everything is that friend, and that is the passion with which Bhagavan wants. But there he is very, very careful to tell you that he knows everything. There is nothing that Bhagavan does not know. In fact, in that first interview he told me, I don't want you to plan anything in life. Your whole life is planned. Just sit back and watch how it unfolds. And do not interfere with my plan. Now this is not something to me. This is to all of us. This is Bhagavan's message to each and every human being on the face of this earth. That your every breath is his plan. It is him. But the problem with you and me lies is that we don't believe this. We have our mind interfering with this every moment of our life. I always have this little story which I hear is that the rope walker, you don't know what a rope walker is. A single rope, the rope walker walks. So there's one rope walker who was walking with his kid on his shoulder. He's walking across the rope. When he reaches the other end, he's asking the entire crowd, are you happy to do what I did? So everybody says, very good. Can you believe that now I can walk back? He says, yes. Everybody says, yes, we believe you can walk back. He says, okay. Who one of you would like to sit on my shoulder and as I walk back? You see, the distinction between believing God and trusting God are the whole fallacy of spiritual sadhana that Bhagavan came to our rescue to tell us. And I think that is important. And he will test you. He is omnipresent. I want maybe Kamala can share the omnipresence that he showed just post-marriage also was something which he showed us after we came back from Goa.
Actually, we didn't have a honeymoon after the marriage. He said, go back to Bombay, a lot of work is there. And he wanted me to do law, so he was after me, abhi law padho. And I was not keen on doing law because I thought not fit for law. But since he insisted, my father-in-law was very happy, one more lawyer in the family. So I started studying and I did my law. And during that 1 year, after 1 year, we went to Goa for a honeymoon. After the honeymoon, we went to Puttaparthi. And as soon as we reached Puttaparthi, Swami called us for an interview. So we were very excited. Imagine just coming from Goa and then walking straight into Puttaparthi and getting an interview. And as soon as we entered, he said, "Kaisa kapda pehna?"
Obviously, you go to Goa, you go to swim.
I was like thinking, Swami, how do I wear a sari in Goa and go in the swimming pool? He said, "Nahin, sab dekhta hai. Ideal couple hai. Kaisa kapda pehne ka?" And believe it or not, in the interview, he showed me how to give a sari. He said, "Aisa nahi, aisa pehne ka sari," and showed the entire thing. That was in '84 when he told us, far ahead of time, that you are going to lead. He gave us that inkling that you are going to lead the organization. He says, people will watch you and say, "Ye kaisa couple hai, kaisa kapda pehante hai," and then because of you, my name will be reflected. So we have to be very careful how we conduct ourselves. And that's what Swami was trying to tell at that time in 1984, almost 35 years ago.
And I want to tell everybody that even bedrooms are not far away from Bhagavan. Bhagavan is more in the bedrooms than ever anybody can imagine. So there is no wall that can stop Bhagavan from coming anywhere close to you. So that was the time when my parents were sitting in the interview room and he became so personal that I had to jump on his feet and press his feet so hard that it pained him. I said, "Swami, please stop now. You know my parents are sitting here. You can't be talking all these things here." So point is that here is a master who's not separate. He's your breath. There is nothing hidden from him. Therefore, for all of us, we must remember, whatever we think, whatever we do, whatever we say, nothing is hidden from this master at any point of time. He's not even a mirror, he's you. He is actually you all the time. And that is the truth of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, which I think and we have to be patient. He's going to irritate you, he's going to hassle you, he's going to trouble you like nobody's business. It's not easy to work with Bhagawan when he tests you. Why? Because he wants you to surrender. He doesn't want you to be different in your thought, word and deed. As I always say, I got my first chance to speak and Bhagawan can be very, his maya is tremendous. He can fool you very easily. You won't even know when he pulls a rug below your feet. It was like the first chance I got to speak here when it was the municipal teachers were being addressed by Bhagawan, and those days I wore a band gala ka collar and I reached up, and both Bhagawan and Indubai saw me, and they both thought I was looking very handsome in the band gala ka thing and all that. So Bhagawan called me and Swami also looked at me and said, "Haan, acha lagta hai." So then Indubai in his own wisdom in front of Bhagawan, "We should talk today, introduce Bhagawan." So I got my first chance to introduce Bhagawan in the Shanmukananda hall. I introduced Bhagawan and Bhagawan spoke, and that evening Bhagawan came to Dharmakshetra in the mandir, and as he came down the steps, he came running, jumping, you know the steps down the stage, all of you know that. He jumped 4 steps at one time like a young kid, jump down and came running to me. He said, "Bolo, main kaisa baat kiya acha, bahut acha baat kiya na." So I'm wondering, God is asking for praise, I said, "हाँ Swami, आप बहुत अच्छा बात किया, देखा ऐसा बात किया, सब टीचर लोग सुधर गया." I said, "हाँ Swami, सब लोग सुधर गया," kind of situation. Therefore, that is the kind of excitement that he shows, that is the kind of thing he shows, but he's a hard taskmaster. Then, because he was so friendly, I got encouraged, so I got a chance to speak in front of him. But every time that you speak, you better be sure that you have the experience of every word that you speak. If you speak something in front of Bhagavan of which you don't have experience, you're in deep trouble. I remember that day when I spoke in Prashant Nilayam and I went to church, they were like jam-packed Saikulwant hall. But as I touched his feet, the whole world must be thinking what a great guy Nimish is. But alone I knew what was happening with Bhagavan. He was catching my hair, pulling my hair, he says, "Khali baat karta hai, experience nahi hai." And what I was talking about? Swami is inside, don't look for Swami. And he says, "Khali baat karta hai, experience nahi hai." So this is the toughness. And working with him is not easy. I remember there was a national Bal Vikas Guru's conference and a huge assembly of children from all over the world who were in Prashant Nilayam. And the program was to start 2 days or 3 days, and we had all assembled already. And those were days when Bhagavan used to come in the car because of a little, he was not well on the leg, so come in the car. So that day he decided to pick on me, that this is the man I have to trouble today. So as he came into the hall, the car used to come, and on the portico on the right side, so from this end of the portico, from the window he put down, "Hey, come here." So I went running excited, Swami is calling me. You know how it is, you can imagine the feeling with 30,000-40,000 people there, and then Swami is calling you, it's a great feeling. So you go running there. Kya program? I said, "Swami, Bal Vikas Guru's conference, there are 3,000 teachers, there are like 10,000 children come, program." "Acha, bahut acha, very good." The car moved 2 feet. Again the window came down, come back again. "Kya program hai?" "Swami, 3,000 teachers, 10,000 children." "Acha, bahut acha, very good." The car moved 4 feet again. The center, come back. "Kya program hai?" I said, "Swami." So I'm going crazy now. I said, "I'm not listening correct. Something is wrong." Standing there again. "Acha, kabhi hai program?" I said, "Swami, 3 days. No, Swami is here next 3 days." No. I said, "Very good." Again he moved and said, the car came on the portico. "Idhar aao, kya program hai?" So then I'm now worried now. I said, "What is?" I said, "Swami, this, that." Then he sat on the chair. Bhajan started. Again he called me. "Idhar aao, baitho baju mein." "Kya program hai?" Then the best part comes. "अच्छा, कभी है प्रोग्राम?" "2 दिन के बाद में है." "अच्छा, मैं तो इधर नहीं है, मैं तो जाता है इधर से." I said, "Swami, किधर जाता है आप?" "Where are you going, Swami?" He said, "No, I am going now. See, now he is in Puttaparthi, but he is telling me I am going to Puttaparthi. So I am still confused, I said, "Swami, Puttaparthi?" "No, I am going." Then halfway down, left the bhajan, went to the interview room, left the door open. He called Chakravarti sir and then called me. He says, "Call Nimish." Again in the interview, same question. "Kya program hai?" So now I'm scared, Swami, 3,000. Now everybody is watching. That time Indubai is watching, Srinivasan is sitting there. All the people are sitting on the portico and watching me, that this guy is going inside and Swami is talking to him so much. So it's not always good that Swami talks to you. Okay, be very careful. So everybody is watching me. I'm going inside and he says, "Kya program?" Then he's telling Chakravarti, "नहीं, मैं तो जाता है, तुम बोलो निमिश को बोलो गाड़ी में बैठो, हम लोग सब पुट्टापट्टी जाता है." Now I'm sitting in Puttaparthi and this conversation is happening. So I'm thoroughly confused. And the best part is, after that interview, I came out, Swami left, went to the Yajur Mandir, sat in the car, and the car left. So now everybody is thinking that this man has gone inside the interview room, he's messed up something, told Swami something, and therefore the whole program is cancelled and Swami is gone. And actually Swami went to Vrindavan and stayed there for 2 days. Now everybody is upset with me in Prashant in Nilayam, and everybody is wondering, this man messed up the whole. Now imagine 3,000 gurus, so many children sitting there, and Nimish Pandya has messed up the whole thing. Swami is left Puttaparthi and gone. 1 day before, now look at, I must talk of Indubai at this point of time, that man had tremendous faith in his self-confidence. When all this happened, everybody was upset. He says, you wait, let's all sit and pray, and do not do anything till just pray. And we all prayed. And 1 day before, we got message, Swami has left Vrindavan and he's coming back to Puttaparthi. Just a few hours, next day morning, the program was to start. And the best part, moment he came, he asked, "Kya program hai?" And I didn't open my mouth. And I did not open my mouth. But what a blissful time he gave us after that. It was an amazing story.
In fact, there are several episodes. I still remember the episode which, maybe quickly I'll narrate this. It's in the chapter 7 of this book which we just launched today. There was Mr. Vacha who used to work in the stores, and apparently he met with an accident and his leg was fractured, and then he wrote a letter to Swami from the hospital, and he sent through one of the devotees and said, Swami, whatever, he wrote a small letter, and towards the end he wrote one line saying that, Bhagawan, you are my doctor, please cure me. And he sent the letter. The letter was delivered to Swami, and after a week he got discharged. He came for darshan, and he was praying all the time that 15 days later there is going to be Dasara. So he wanted to attend Dasara festival. So he was praying hard to Bhagawan that please ensure that I get chance to. So he asked, doctor said nothing less than 1 month. You can't even walk till 1 month. So he sat for darshan. Bhagawan came and Bhagawan asked him, Vacha, doctors kya bolta hai? So he said, Swami, I am improving, and 1 month bolta hai. So he was like praying hard. Then Swami, kuch karo, okay, I can start walking in a week's time, because 15 days later was Dasara festival. So Swami said good and went away. And this happened 3-4 days. So constantly, everybody was worried. Swami same question is asking, Vacha, doctor kya bolta hai? So he got worried. He went back home. He spoke to his wife, and the wife was thinking about why this Swami's, there must be a message about it. And then she inquired with him that you wrote a letter to Bhagawan when you were in hospital. What did you write exactly? So he said, I wrote this, and towards the end I said, Bhagawan, you are my doctor and you have to cure me. He said, that is the answer. Bhagawan is asking you every day, doctor kya bolta hai? And you are telling the worldly doctor, wo 1 mahina bolta hai. And Swami is asking you again and again. So next day he goes with that clear answer. Bhagawan again comes for darshan and asks him, Vacha, doctors kya bolta hai? So he immediately touches Bhagawan's feet as, Bhagawan, you are my doctor, you decide when I should walk. And Swami looked deep into his eyes and said, यही आंसर के लिए मैं पूछता था. And not just that, he says, and Bhagavan tells very clearly to him, you will walk in 1 week's time. And with that faith and this exactly 1 week later he walked, and doctors were spellbound that a month was minimum that is required for him to heal, and he could walk in a week's time. That is what Bhagavan is.
Yeah, I think that all of us must learn that we must give credit to Bhagavan. It is not because he's egoistic, but he's the doer. And the biggest problem for mankind to reach the divine lotus feet is a sense of doership. All of us are guilty, 100%. That we only play lip service to Bhagavan when we say, Bhagavan, you are the doer, we are not the doer. But in our heart of hearts, we always believe that we are the doers and not Bhagavan. The day we decide that genuinely we want to surrender and give credit to Bhagavan for everything. Therefore, in the organization also, I always remind myself and I remind all my colleagues in the entire organization that for heaven's sake, do not claim credit for anything that happens in your life. The day you take credit for anything that happens in your life, you are far away from Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and that is the truth. And I remember, he wants to hear what he does for you. He wants to know that we know that he loves us. That is most important. I think one incident, Kamala also, when Kamala was not well, she will share that incident when...
Yeah, actually what happened was that I had to undergo an operation, and it was quite complicated. The doctor was Dr. Mota Shah, and she performed the operation, and after that they had to send it for a biopsy. So every day there was a fear that what will come in that biopsy. And when the biopsy report came, it was clear absolutely. And then the doctor allowed us to go to Parthi. So when we came to Parthi, Swami came and asked me in the lines as usual, what did the doctor say? So I said, sir, Swami, doctor said everything is fine. So again, second day, then he asked me, give vibhuti, go to Nimish's side, ask him, what did doctor say? Again the same thing. Like this 3-4 days it went on, and then it struck me, God, the doctor said, ask the man who has done something for you. Because for the doctor doesn't know about Swami. He had only known about Swami from Mrs. Fanibandha's
Yeah, Mrs. Fanibandha had mentioned to her about Swami.
And he was saying, like, again another case of such a thing. So he came and he looked at me and said, Kya bola doctor? Doctor ne bola, Swami, ask you what you have done for me.
Okay, so on a lighter note, they were all joking that Kamala and Nimish have given birth to a football instead of a baby that time. So that was a joke that happened. But that was, I'm sure Devi and the other doctors, they were there, and they really, I'm sure it was not a very good thing to happen. But Bhagawan had said, but he wants to know that you know that he's done this for you. That is most important.
Taking a step back, this is one question which most of us have, because now both of you are lawyers, and lawyers' life is not 9 to 5, it's 24/7. So how do you balance your professional life, your personal life, and most importantly, your participation and active participation in Sai Mission? Maybe some lessons, how do you manage time, how do you give your priorities? I think it's very important for today's youth, because most of us grapple with this all the time.
I think all of us must remember one quotation of Bhagawan, that everything in the world is complicated, God alone is simple. The answer to this question doesn't lie in intelligence. Answer to this question doesn't lie in strategy. The answer to this question doesn't lie in any planning. The answer to this question lies in just letting God do what He wants to do. Many people know that I was never wanting to be a lawyer. I was always wanting to be an actor and a director. I joined the Film and Television Institute of India in the 1970s. But my father insisted that I should become a lawyer. And I tried everything with Bhagawan to argue with him, and because those were the days, the friendship days were there. So I used to talk to Bhagawan. I said, Bhagawan, you don't know. You have no idea what lawyers are. They're the most useless people. So he said, who said that? I said, Swami, you said it. I said, when did I say it? He said, in one discourse you said, Swami, 7 generations back and 7 generations next of all the lawyers will go to hell. I said, this is it. I said, Swami, you said this, I reminded him. Then he says, no, aisa nahi hai, tum acha vakil banega. I said, Swami, I tried everything but he won't agree. So then I tried one last resort. I said, Swami, it's a very boring thing. You even if you try to read, you'll also not like it. You'll forget it. So I read, but I can't remember. So he said, don't worry. He taught me the first law of contract. He said, don't worry. You study and I will remember. I said, done deal. And he told my father that don't worry, in June he'll become a lawyer. So I'm laughing at Swami. Swami, you must be very funny, because I'm the first guy who's going to prove your word wrong. Because they say whatever Swami says becomes true. But I am telling you that you promised my father will become a lawyer in June. There is no way I can become a lawyer, because first of all, there is no attendance. Secondly, there is a specialization called criminal law, which I don't even have a book. I've never read it in my life. And it's etiquette. In those days, University of Bombay allowed to keep terms. Etiquette was going on. So I was like a good strain, dhakka marayenge every 2 subject. And Swami promised him, do it. Then I realized I went back to college. I got my ticket despite no attendance. Then I went to the hall. Now I'm not sad, I'm not nervous. People would get nervous. I'm laughing. I said, Swami, your word is not going to be true. You told me, but I'm come, but there's nothing going to happen. So I'm watching everybody trying to. Now I was feeling very ashamed to leave the hall in 5 minutes. I said, look, I can't because people are watching. Let's start people writing when they finish one supplement. Then I'll get up and go. So by the time 15 minutes happened, I sat down and I opened the question paper again. And then I realized that there are 9 questions which are dealing with why there is increase in delinquency amongst women and children. Now I don't know the law, but suddenly flashes in my mind a discourse of Swami that the Indian society is sustained because the family is a unit of society, not individuals. And when there is a family is a unit of society, everybody is protected. The woman is protected, the children are protected, everybody is protected. So I wrote that discourse as an answer and I got 62% marks and I passed. And the best part is I reached Puttaparthi. He said, "Dekha, lawyer ban gaya." So I was trying to pull his leg, but he's trying now to pull my leg. And then he taught me the first breach of contract. Dekha, tum nahi padha, fir bhi main yaad kiya. So the best part is answering your question, Siddharth. How do you balance this? You can't. You have to leave it to him to balance. But I tell you one thing. The fact that I loved Bhagawan and I could give more precedent to doing Bhagawan. Bhagawan was handling my profession at all the time. I remember that very well. Because once when Bhagawan was here, I had some 14 merger petitions on the board of the High Court judge. And I came here, Bhagawan was here, and I got a call that, "Nimish, all your petitions are dismissed." So I looked at Bhagawan. Bhagawan was outside. Bhagawan looked at me, smiled. Conversations going on mind to mind. So moment Bhagawan went after lunch, I rushed back to court. And when Bhagawan smiled at me, I knew I was safe. So I went to court. I went straight into the chamber of the judge, Justice Sam Bharucha, who was later on the Chief Justice of India. He was a very strict man, Justice Bharucha. Nobody dared enter. But I just said Sai Ram and I entered his chamber. He said, "Yes, young man, what do you want?" I said, "Sir, Sathya Sai Baba is here. I went in the morning and you dismissed 22 petitions of mine." "Oh, is that so? Okay, mention the matter when I come back to court after lunch." So I was damn thrilled. I said, "Here we are, no success." Swami's name had worked. I went to the court and all my senior lawyers in the bar were all waiting. "No, Nimish, you can't mention," because they were worried that if I get rejected, all of them will get rejected. I said, "Sir, wait. All of you are safe and I'm going in front." So moment he came, he saw me. He said, "Yes, young man, what do you want?" He brushed aside all the seniors. I said, "Lordship, okay, restored all the matters which were dismissed in the morning." So everybody got saved because of that. So this is what Swami can do even in the court. Okay, so you know, Swami can do anything anywhere on the world. He can change anybody's mind. He can change anything on the face of this world. Is a fact. To this Bhagavan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba, nothing is impossible, as Siddharth mentioned, and that's been the experience which sister also mentioned. Nothing is impossible. For him, all that he requires is your complete faith. And even today, he stands the test of time as we go further. There's no question about it. So you don't manage. If you're a lawyer, surrender yourself. If you're a doctor, surrender yourself. Pankaj knows how to do surrender. Pankaj knows whatever it is. And all businessmen should surrender everything. Surrender everything. Say Sai Ram and do. Even if it is wrong, accept it. Even if it is right, whatever happens, don't say I have surrendered, therefore only good will happen. Even after you surrender, bad can happen. But learn to accept both is what Swami would teach us in that situation, that nothing is in your control. You have to go through everything that it comes. But know that he is your best friend and he'll take care of you.
Maybe some episodes on sadhana which you were keen to mention about the youth. You mentioned about sadhana as one of the important ways to balance this.
The importance of sadhana is very essential in our lives as Sai devotees. The Sathya Sai Seva Organization, the simplest way for you to remember is Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organization. So the SSSS organization. To enter the organization, you have to first follow the 4 S's. The first is start the morning with silent sitting. So every morning, the first sadhana that we have to do is sit silently. And not only sit silently, practice silent sitting. So the introspection, the values that are being got into you are from the early morning. Then you get on to the day and you spend, the second S is reading Sai literature. So whenever you get time during the day, read Sai literature. The third is at night, when you go to bed, you have to self-audit. The self-audit is, have I been a better person today than what I was yesterday? Have I been a better Balvikas Guru than what I was yesterday? And if the answer is yes, sleep. If the answer is not yes, ask yourself, where did I go wrong? What should I do to improve? So these are the 3 S's, and then you do your seva in the organization. So this, start the day with silent sitting, fill the day with self-study, end the day with self-audit, and then do seva, is the sadhana that every one of us must follow. And if you follow this in your life, you will find that God is talking to you all the time. Little things that you may want, God will fulfill because you are doing His work for Him. So this is the most important thing that we all have to do, is practice silent sitting, read Sai literature, end the day with self-audit, and then do any seva. Without this base of sadhana, there's no point of doing seva. The sadhana, spiritual sadhana, is a must before you do any seva.
I'm reminded of another episode that happened in Tri session way back, and this actually happened when I was privileged or lucky, blessed to be witnessing this. It was holidays time, like the way now holidays are begun for the Vrindavan and Prashantalam campus, and boys were going back home. And I'm just reminded of this incident because you said about sadhana and how to be with Swami 24/7. And Swami just said, boys, any question? So there's one boy who raised hand, and Bhagawan asked, what is your question? So he just said, Swami, when I am in front of you, I am in Parthi or Vrindavan, I'm all the time thinking about you. I'm enjoying your presence. And however, once I go back home on holidays, this doesn't happen to me. I get disconnected. So what do I do? And Bhagavan gave a very beautiful answer. And the way he is, and he gives through analogies. So he mentioned, he's saying, imagine an earthen pot. You fill up the pot with the water till the brim and keep it just like that. What will happen? Obviously, water will go down. Subsequently, water will go down, right? So what do you do to ensure that water remains till the brim? You surround yourself with more water around, or put that pot into another larger earthen pot which is filled with water. So moisture maintains the inner level, which is what Swami said. And he extended that with a very clear message. He said, when you go home, and I think this is not just the boys, I think it's applicable to all of us. When you go home, you ensure that you read Sai literature, participate in the spiritual activities of the organization, mingle with Sai devotees, enjoy their experiences, do seva, and that is the larger earthen pot outside, which will ensure that the earthen pot that we are, and Bhagavan's inspiration message that is filled to the brim remains as it is. The moment we lose connect with the outside earthen pot, the water inside level goes down. So that is one I immediately remembered when you said about the sadhana and how this can be maintained.
I want to add for all my sisters sitting here that Bhagavan has special grace for all the sisters. Though Bhagavan ostensibly had this great distinction between men and women sitting separately, but Bhagavan paid the highest respect to women. And in Kamala's and my case, I must share that Bhagavan was very alert with Kamala. Because when she asked you that, what do you want? He said, you must always speak to me. You must always speak to me and never cross without talking to me. In the darshan line.
Swami used to walk and pass by, and then I would say that, Swami, every time you go like that, it's very, very difficult for me to bear. You don't say hello also, you don't say Sai Ram also.
Let's put the mic like this.
So, whenever you pass by, Swami, just nod at least, talk to me at least, so that I know that you are with me. So every time Swami would pass by, he'd say something, talk something, and like this time went on. And then suddenly, Swami kept his word. He kept talking to me, and then one day he says, Kaisa hai? And then walk away. And then next day he'll say, and then walk away. And then he'll do like this and walk away. But he has kept his promise. He has always acknowledged my presence. So this is what he will always keep his promise. But are we keeping our promise is to be done?
And the day he would forget, he would be very worried. He would come on the podium, wife ko bolo, haan, main baat kiya, dekha udhar.
And then he'll go and tell him, or he'll send an apple from there. The wife udhar baitha hai, usko wahan de dena. So this is things that Swami would always do to show that he is acknowledging us.
He keeps his promise.
In fact, one session, I don't know, it was sometime in January, I think 2009, we had taken all the youth wing girls of Bombay, and we were all seated. And Swami, he called me from the stage and then says, "Bahut acha, girls, bahut acha gaya." And then he says, "Boys not so good." So then he's telling me, "Dekho, girls mein leadership hai na. If leader is strong, the group will be good. But boys, no leadership, that's why the group is not doing well. But you," and then he called all the girls and gave them saris, and he's telling me, "Nahi, main tere jaisa silk sari nahi deta, main ordinary deta." I said, "Swami, whatever you give is beautiful. We don't want that." And then he remarked that we like a rose that smells fragrant in the silence of, yes. So that's how it is that God wants us to be always with Him and love Him and appreciate whatever He does for us. And that's why He's very happy with the Mahilas. He's very happy with the Mahilas because we're always dedicated, and not that men are not, but He's, I don't want you to misconstrue anything. We're happy because you all are more dedicated and faithful. Yeah.
He has his own ways of teaching also. I mean, I remember one incident when we had just finished a national conference in Prashant Nilayam, and in Dubai, and Sarlaben wanted to go to Rameshwaram. So he asked me, he said, "Nimish, will you join me?" So I said, "Yes, in Dubai, I'll come with you." And those were the days when my father was teaching in the university there. So he was sitting on the portico, and the moment we left Puttaparthi with Dubai, Swami came out on the mandir and asked my father, "Son, kidhar gaya?" So my father, like a peacock, stood up and said, "Haan, Swami, wo in Dubai ke saath mein Rameshwaram gaya," because he thought we had done a good job. We had not gone to a club, we had gone to Rameshwaram. Moment he said Rameshwaram gaya, Swami became angry. "Rameshwaram kyun gaya? What is there which is not here?" And this was a master statement which he made, and my father was flabbergasted. He called me immediately. He said, "Swami is very upset with you that you've gone to Rameshwaram." You won't believe me, for 2-3 years after that, he didn't speak to Kamala and me. Like, I told you, the passion with which he wants to teach us something else. The idea was not that going to Rameshwaram was wrong. But for the sadhaka who wants to know where God is, he must be consistent in his thought, word and deed. And then he didn't speak me for 3 years, and then when Kamala was not well, after 3 years we got an interview in Vrindavan, and he very stylishly, he took us inside the room and then closed the door, like slowly, and for those people who have seen the Rajesh Khanna movie of Amar Prem, then he closed the door like that and said, without turning, "Kyun? Gaya tha na Sarla Ma ke saath Rameshwaram." After 3 years, I caught his feet. I said, "Swami, I still don't understand what did I do wrong in going to Rameshwaram. Please guide me." He says, "See, you will lead and you must know and practice that when you say that God is inside you, your outward action also must be the same, your experience be the same." Therefore, all of us must believe that whenever we go to temples or whenever we go to places of worship, these are only inspirational places. Don't stop there. Because if you don't carry that vibration home into your day-to-day life, Swami will not speak to you for 3 years. Okay? So be very careful. So every time you go to Siddhivinayak, every time you go to Rameshwaram, every time you go to a church, every time you go to a mosque, please go. But don't end there. When you come back, bring that power inside you. When you touch the charan of a symbol of charan, don't think it ends there. If that charan doesn't come inside your heart, it is no meaning to Bhagawan's itself. Don't light lamps, because that outward lamp will blow off, but if that lamp doesn't light inside your heart constantly, that has no meaning. And this is the real truth of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, which I have learned very badly and with great hammering, which I like to share with you today, that is really ultimately required at the end of it, that situation.
Coming back to the day-to-day life, now given that we have Bhagavan's background and we also face ethical dilemmas on a regular basis, how does it make a difference of having Bhagavan's background?
How does it make a difference?
Bhagavan's background. How do you take care of or how do you manage ethical dilemmas?
Actually, we don't experience that dilemma at all because we surrender everything to Swami. Whatever has to happen, Swami, you have to do it. And that way, it becomes much more easier. Like, for example, if I have take cases, but I made it very clear that I will not take cases where I have to fight. Because from the beginning I had, like for example, personal law, matrimonial matters. I don't want to take divorce matters where you are going to fight in the public and wash your dirty linen in public. So I openly tell my client that if it is mutual consent, if you're going to settle by mutual consent, I'll take you. Otherwise, you find another lawyer. Because we don't want money that way. And we don't want to get involved in such type of litigation where everybody is washing their dirty linen in public. So that way the dilemma doesn't arise, at least in our case. And that's how it is.
I think it's your choice. If your mindset and your vibrations are on the positive path, even if a negative situation comes with you and you stick to your positivity, that negative situation will change into positivity. I've seen in my career, spanning over 35 now, more than nearly 40 years, that people who fight acrimoniously, people who come with great ego issues, but if you can contribute positive vibration, many things get sorted out in their own ways. It takes time, but it does. But as a lawyer, you don't fan the fire. You try to douse the fire by adding positivity. And the question is that even when between two lawyers who are on the opposite sides of the case, if your vibration is positive, then the other side lawyer also, who may be a very person known to be an acrimonious person, your positive vibrations can impact him. Is very to be seen and bad. I've seen in my career also that in my profession there are many lawyers whose mission and motto is to fight. And they're right because that's their job. They would do it. But when you go with your positive vibration to them and your aura is positive, in that positive aura they would respond to you differently. That is to be seen. I should see this in my father's case also. My father was a lawyer, but he had a client in those days in the early 40s and 60s who was a Muslim landlord. He was a big time landlord. He was such a big time landlord that he was a very cutthroat businessman, to such an extent that his own children would not trust their father if he said something. But that man came and promised my mother, and we were living in a chawl in Parel that time. We were very, very humble situations. We were living in a chawl. And that man climbed the steps to meet my father and he fell. When he fell down, he complained to my mother. He says, "Why don't you change your house?" So my mother jokingly told him that you are a big landlord. Why don't you give me the house someday? He says, "I promise you, I'll give it to you." Now nobody believed him. His own children told my father that you must be crazy. My father will not give me. What will he give you? But after 7 years, he built a building in Kolaba, which we stayed ultimately. And he brought my mother. Suddenly one day he says, "Come, select which flat you want and I'll give you this flat and you don't have to worry." Though the positive vibrations if you build up, the most negative person can respond to you positively, is what Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba also. And that was Bhagavan's glory. In Bhagavan's presence, all negativity vanished because the aura was like that. And that aura comes from sadhana, what Bhagavan kept on telling us all the time. That if you want happiness in your life, destiny apart, sorrow and joy apart, but if you are building on positivity in your current life, all positive aura around you will negate all the negative which is coming. That is the assurance that Bhagavan has given us if we stick to our path of sadhana. And I think that's very important to follow. And therefore, I would say that we should not plan anything in life. Even in a profession, even in life, I will do like this, I will do like that. You can't do anything because whatever you do will not happen if it is not divine will. I was a person who never used to believe in rituals. I never believed in havans and pujas and nothing. But I tell you, and I used to tell people that I don't believe. But in the last 3 years, the amount of pujas I have done, I have never done in my life. Because God will make you do things which you say, I will not. God will say, I'll teach you a lesson. Now you do. Because He is the master. Therefore, never make the mistake of saying, I will or I will not. Because with you, there is no will. There is only grace that Bhagavan gives you and nothing else.
I think we are nearing the end, but I've just got two critical questions which most of us keep seeking answers to. One is, how did you deal with Bhagavan's Mahasamadhi? And how do you remain connected to Bhagavan in today's era? Maybe you can narrate one or two experiences post Mahasamadhi.
After the Mahasamadhi, for a few days I was shaken up, but then I realized that everyone has to go, and so also has Swami to go. And I started relying on the inner source, that is silent sitting. And since I was already doing silent sitting and intuitively getting connected with Swami, I found it much easier. I was telling you before, because we were not going to Puttaparthi every second day or third day or every second month that time. And here was a time when we could just connect, come to Dharmakshetra and connect. So whenever we fell down, whenever we feel upset, we feel sad, we just come and sit down here quietly in the morning or afternoon, sit for 5-10 minutes, draw the source and then go back home really. So that way there was a connectivity with Dharmakshetra, and it has been a great solace for us.
I think, let me put it very candidly. After Bhagavan's Mahasamadhi, only those people suffered who only had a physical contact with Bhagavan. All those who could understand Bhagavan's power from inside did not really suffer. There was a little shock, there's a jolt, but all those who were already connected from inside had no problem. But those who were totally dependent upon the physicality of Bhagavan found the void, and for them to fill the void, some took more time, some took less time, some even took a wrong path of going to another physical body. That's a different story. But that's something completely wrong. But that void happened to those people who were totally attached to the physical form and did not realize the inherent power with which he had come to tell you. So there were clearly two sets of people, that who had connected from inside, who felt the warmth inside, and as Kamala mentioned, probably a lot of us came to Dharmakshetra, sat in silence and felt him, and we could not. But I still want to say that even today, the power of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba is much more than what we experience in his physical form, is a reality of today, and that is a fact. And this I will tell you from my experience as the All India President for the last 3 years and the Vice President for the last 2 years. I'm deeply grateful to Bhagavan for having given me this opportunity of traveling throughout the length and breadth of this country. I tell you, the power of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba is so immense, is so magnanimous, that even in the remotest villages of this country, whether it is Himachal, whether it is Manipur, whether it is Kashmir, whether it is anywhere, go north, south, east, west, every nook and corner of India, whether anywhere there is a human being, Swami is present in every square inch of this country, is a fact and reality of today. And he knows that everything is planned. Let me give you one example of Kamala and myself going to Kangra. It was in the month of December 2018 that my state president of Himachal Pradesh invited me to go to Kangra, because Kangra is a very powerful district of Himachal where Swami's presence is tremendous. In every home there is vibhuti, in every house there is a letter coming, in every house there is something happening. That was the time in last November in 18 when I left Puttaparthi and came back to Bombay. I took a little unwell and I was not well, and doctors told me don't travel so much, because I had traveled a lot that time. So I told my state president of Himachal, who was planning a trip in May of 2019. We were planning in December of 18 to May of 19. So I said, no, Dr. Sanjay, please let's not plan this. I will tell you. So I told them to cancel the program of Kangra. Moment I said cancel the program of Kangra, in the entire Kangra district, letters started coming in all the homes that don't listen to the state president. I am telling you that Swami is telling them that the All India President will come in May. So keep your programs on. Now, the state president called me and said, look, what's wrong with you, sir? They are talking like this. I said, look, it's all crazy. It's all emotion and drama. I can't come, so please treat it as cancelled. You won't believe me, in the month of May, I started feeling better. So this man again approached me because the people were troubling him that, no, tell him he's going to come. Swami said he's going to come. So he approached me and, subject to Swami's rule, I said, okay, I'm feeling better, I don't mind coming. Now we fixed the date. I reached Delhi the previous night, and the next morning I'm supposed to catch a flight to go to Kangra. By Dalhousie is the place where the flight lands. And I reached Delhi. I had my administrative meetings with the organization in Delhi. I finished my work, and next morning the flight was at 10:40. So thinking that the flight is at 10:40, I reached Delhi airport at 9:30. Now it so happened that SpiceJet had preponed the flight from 10:40 to 9:40 and sent a message to Sanjay because he had booked the ticket, and the state president forgot to tell me that the flight is preponed. Now imagine I'm landing at Delhi airport at 9:30 for a flight which is to depart at 9:40. The counter is closed, everything is shut, and the first program is I have to reach Dalhousie because 10,000 devotees are waiting in a ground from 6 in the morning for me to reach there as the All India President to address them. And I am at the Delhi airport missing my flight because 10 minutes, 9:40, the flight is, gates are closed, everything is shut. Moment he told me that, I said, gosh, Swami, what's going to happen? Because I'm worried that so many people are waiting. Moment Kamala and I said, Swami, help, what's going to happen? You know what happened? One girl from the SpiceJet inside counter came out and said, are you Mr. and Mrs. Pandya? I said, yes. Is your flight? Is he going? Yes, wait. She called up the dispatch manager, the engineer who dispatches the flight, and says, stop, I'm sending 2 passengers. In Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport, where security is the tightest in this country, nowhere even a minister will not be boarded in 10 minutes. That girl came out, put a security man with Kamala and me to go through security without stopping anywhere. I reached the gate, a special SpiceJet car came to pick me up. They took me to the flight, put me in the flight, and I landed in Dalhousie at the time when I was supposed to land. This only Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba can do. Nobody can do this. Nobody can do this. Nobody can do this. I still can't believe that even what a minister can't do, Swami can do for you, and therefore Swami is to say, my All India President is bigger than the President of India. That was to say. That is to say, my state president is bigger than the chief minister of the state. My district president bigger than the mayor of the... And I sincerely believe that the Sathya Sai organization is nothing less than a government of the entire cosmos. We are all ministers of the thing, and the God is our president, and when Swami is our president, nothing is impossible, is a reality of life, and we must live with that. There is no question about that.
That's a very beautifully put, that we have a president right here in front of us whose government we are. And I can add one more element which is very critical, which Bhagawan himself told me when I was fond of, or rather mad behind the physical form of Bhagawan. And I was repeatedly and he used to talk very frequently. At one fine day, he suddenly stopped. And you know what happens when you are in a cold storage, you go mad, you don't know what to do. And I was shooting letters after letters and even sending across the telegrams, and nothing used to work. Finally, I said, let me kind of decorate a card which is attractive for Bhagawan to come. See how the human mind works. So I sat with a card, and I got a place to sit in the front. After the interviews, Bhagawan came down and he looked at it, and I was like prodding and moved ahead. And I moved ahead, and fortunately he was kind enough to invite or come like that. And because there is a lesson in mind in this. So I moved ahead and I showed him the card. He read through the card, and he just looked at me and said, physical closeness not important. These are his exact words. I'm not translating into Telugu or anything. These are English words. He looked into my eyes and he said, physical closeness not important. Honestly, I didn't understand. I was too small to grasp what Bhagawan was saying. And in my ignorance, I went on arguing with him. No, Swami, physical closeness is important. And he looked into my eyes, physical closeness is not important. I again said, no, Swami, physical closeness is important. It was literally like I should not say lawyer, but like a fight between the two people. And in my ignorance, I was pushing him. And then he looked into my eyes and said, empty heart. Just 2 words. Empty heart. Then he looked behind, empty heart. He looked third person, empty heart. He went on repeating this. Still, I was not able to understand what does empty heart mean. And he would have given up. This guy is ignorant, doesn't understand anything, and he walked away. It was 13 years later when exactly in this very hall, when one of the Samarpan speakers, out of the blue, he said, when Bhagawan says empty heart means what? And he paused. And it suddenly came as a thought to me, as Bhagawan is giving me a message now. I didn't understand then, but there was a message which he was giving. And he says, Bhagawan always says empty heart because if you have a heart filled with desires, attraction, distractions of the world, then where is a place for him to come? So empty the heart so that he can come and reside for good. And that is the time, I guess, when the physical attraction or obsession with physical form completely falls off, and then he comes in our life permanently. Because once he is a resident of the heart, there is no way looking back. He makes himself reveal, as you said. So it kindled my thought when you mentioned about attraction to physical form.
I think before we end, I think one thing I'd like to share with you is that whether it was Kamala's life of her family before she married me, a struggle but there was one strong man, my father-in-law, that if you have ultimate faith, unconditional faith in God, any human disaster will not touch you. That was one thing that I learned from my father-in-law, who was an amazing person. And I was one of those few young men who had the full support of the father-in-law even before marriage. So that was a great father-in-law I had, a very rare situation used to happen. And the second is that Swami used to tell Kamala all the time. He says, Swami, Kamala, when Kamala asked Swami, he says, Swami, why are you doing so much for me? Because Swami was very focused on her all the time. To such an extent that he used to tease me, "Tum jealous hai na? Tumhara wife ko itna pyar karta hai." You know. And I remember those days when Kamala was selected to a national committee of Bal Vikas, and Swami took all of them to Ooty. Kamala was a part of the national council. So Swami came and told me, "Hey, jealous, तुमको नहीं लेके जाता है ना, तुम्हारा वाइफ को लेके जाता है." So be careful. God can create biggest trouble between husband and wife. Okay. So never trust God when it comes to family relationship. Be very, very careful. He loves it when husband and wife fight, and the more you don't fight, the bigger is the challenge for him. Okay. But in the end, what I learned with great experience, and he put me the grill, is that you must not claim that you love God. You must yearn for the time when God tells you that He loves you. I think that's a very important dimension. Nobody should do this. And I want to, as the last experience I'd like to share with you is the Yajur Mandir experience which happened when Swami inaugurated the Yajur Mandir. You see, I was very happy in my own world that Swami loves me and I love Swami. But at one stage, Swami wants to ensure that you learn it very hard, you learn it properly. So the Yajur Mandir was being inaugurated. Swami was shifting from the Purna Chandra house to the Yajur Mandir. And I was sitting on the portico with all the other dignitaries at that point of time who were there. And Swami announced that there is going to be lunch, the first lunch in the new house with Swami. Everybody on the portico was given a slip or was told, you come, you come, you come, you come. And that you come, you come, you come, I was not there to come. So everybody around me, you come, but Nimish.Pandya is left out. The moment I was left out, you see how if your sadhana is not strong, you can collapse completely. Everybody got up and drew a line and went into the Yajur Mandir, and I was there, not called. Now this is a stage when your inner core, all the inner nonsense comes out. Depression, anger, jealousy, every negative frustration, negativity that God does not love you, all these years are a waste. And tears were rolling down my eyes, and all my colleagues know. But see how you are alone when it comes to God. Nobody is supporting you. You and God are alone. And everybody, my closest friends, my closest colleagues, all are hiding their heads and going away, not trying to confront me because they all know that this guy is upset. Everybody is upset and I'm crying, and they all went, and I could not hide myself. And look, God doesn't make it easy. As I got off from the portico, went behind the South Prashanti walking, everybody in the road is looking at me. Sir, you didn't go inside. Sir, you didn't go inside. No, they're rubbing salt on the wound. I went and cried and cried and cried and went inside the room. I went inside the room and I burst out like a kid. I remember, I'll never forget that. I cried like a kid that God is having his new home and I am not there. Then the worst part is, even there God does not spare you. So then somebody called me, he said, look, the first round of lunch is over, the Sevadal is eating. So somebody called me and said, Nimish, at least come and have prasad with the Sevadal. Now there also, I am saying, no, why should I go? I did not go for the first round. Why should I go for the second round? Terrific turmoil going on. I walked down, I went to the turmoil. I'm eating there out of sadbuti. God, some sadbuti, my karmas, my blessing. That at least I went to have prasad in that house that time. I'm eating the prasad. The Sevadar is telling me, Arey sir, you didn't come for the first round. How come you're left out? There also is rubbing it inside you. He's not sparing you completely. And I'm shattered. Even after having prasad, there is no joy. Again, I'm going back to the room and crying, and I cried. And evening comes and I come back on the portico. And what happens, brothers and sisters? As I come and sit on the portico, those days Swami used to walk slowly and the boy used to help. Swami got out of the car from the other side, from the ladies' side, got on the portico, and from far he shouted, "Hey Nimisha, tum subah khana khane nahi aaya, main tumko bahut dhunda." Then it struck me, he says, idiot, it is good that you are in 200-300 people, Bhagawan remembered that you were not there. What was that food? What was the prasad? The very fact that Bhagawan remembered you in front of 3-4, he wished you, is a more important blessing. That's the day I realized that it is not good. It's the story of Abu and Adam. You have to be in God's list. You keeping God in your list doesn't make sense at all. You have to ensure that you are in God's list, and that is the most important situation which we all must yearn for. I think that's the most important thing we should achieve in life. And despite all this, happiness and sorrow will come, brothers and sisters. Happiness will come, sorrow will come, but in both, clinging to his feet is very important. And remembering one thing, never ever claim credit for anything. If you have the sadhana and the grace to surrender to Bhagawan, then see what Bhagawan can do to your life. It's a miracle that we must all understand. That's it.
One last word from Kamala Aunty, especially being an Avatar Declaration Day, any most important message which you feel we all should remember and imbibe?
Which one should I say? Which one?
So much to share.
One message that touched your heart.
Yeah, I had asked Swami that why did you do this delay in the marriage and kept on saying yes, no, and why all this, Swami? And today, after all that, why are you doing so much? This was just one day prior to my marriage. He called me, my mother and mother-in-law, and started giving sadis and everything, getting ready for the marriage. So I asked him, Swami, I want to ask you one thing. Why are you doing all this for me? I don't deserve it. I have not done anything. And then Swami's words, still today, he said, "Tum mera bal vikas chalati, main tera itna nahi kar sakta hu. You are running my bal vikas. Can I not do this much for you?" And that is the words that I hold on to today, because these are the words that have kept me going, and that's why I'm in bal vikas today.
Excellent. In fact, just to end, there are two things which are top of the mind, which maybe I would like to share on this day. One thing is, I remember there was one of the evenings we used to sit with letters for Bhagawan, and it was a time when you sit with any letter, Bhagawan will just indicate you like this, come. And Swami, where today's Mahasamadhi is there was a place where Swami used to give discourse. So he was standing there and we were sitting below. He was just like this. So a time came when all of us knew. So everybody, with whatever you want to pray or you don't pray, sit with that letter. So you get called by Bhagawan. A time came when the entire first row had letters in their hand. And that day Bhagawan decided not to take. So there was our Anil Kumar sir sitting there, and he is one of the persons whom we always look up to when we are in trouble. And that is the time when he looked at Bhagawan and he said, Swami, boys must be having some emergency. And I was there, one of those first line with that letter, and I could hear what he was telling Swami. And Swami just looked at him and very strong, means like bolt from the blue. He just thumped his chest and said, "My boys will never have emergencies. My boys will never have emergencies." Now that is a statement which immediately let us went down. But it's a message for not just the boys. What does Swami differentiate? My is his people. If, as what Uncle and Auntie shared the entire last 1.5 minutes about the episodes, if we are his, in his list, then no emergencies can touch us.
With your permission, just one last episode, which is good for all of us to remember. And therefore, I'm saying, because in life we never forget anything. The problem with us in life is that we always remember everything. My father was a very brilliant lawyer. His memory was fantastic. He could narrate anything from any period of time with full detail of a time, date, time, everything. So one day he was sitting on the portico and Swami asked him, they said, "Pandya, kya chahiye?" So my father didn't know anything, he didn't want anything. He says, "Swami, moksha chahiye." I said, "Chalo, interview mein chalo, moksha deta hai." He took me inside the interview room and he started asking questions. My father's memory is fantastic. So Swami, kya naam tumhara? I said, "Gulab Rai, kidhar se aaya, Bombay se aaya, kidhar paida hua, Bhavnagar mein jauga." Like, Swami started asking questions and daddy is responding fast, immediately. You know how a tennis match goes between the two players. 10 questions, 20 answers, 30 questions, 40 answers. Went on up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. For 20-30 minutes, Swami kept on asking questions to him, and Swami and my father kept on answering questions to him back. And then Swami suddenly got off the chair. "Arey Pandya, itna yaad hai to kaisa moksha milega?" And I remember Swami then telling us, forget all the harm that others have done to you immediately. And forget all the good that you've done to others immediately. If you can forget these two things, I think we've fulfilled our duty to Bhagawan. Because this is the only problem in life that we have, that we never forget anything in life. That's a problem.
Amazing. And the last word which Swami always mentions this. If you want to put a photograph on the wall, what will you do? So you'll put a nail, and after that immediately you'll not tie, right? You will try to shake the nail and see whether it is strong enough, and then you put the photograph. Swami said to us similarly, he said, when I want to put my photograph on you, first I will hit the nail. You will get little bit of hit on your head. You will have troubles in life. But after that I will shake and see, are you really strong? Do you still have faith? If you are removed, if there is no faith, the nail comes out. Moment nail comes out, the photograph is not hung. So he says, when I shake, if you still have faith and trust in me, then I will put the photograph on the top. And once he puts the photograph, our life becomes his story, which is ultimately is Samarpan. Sai Ram.
Despite everything that Bhagawan said, this is an evening that I'm sure none of us will ever forget. Declared by Bhagawan, certified by Bhagawan himself as the ideal couple, I'm sure that all of us will be going home with several lessons, but more importantly, inspired to continue serving in his mission. Because like Bhagawan declared, because of you, his name will be affected. Now, for a moment when I heard those lines, I thought, oh my God. But then I thought that the power that Bhagawan has bestowed upon each of us, affected need not just mean, naam kharab ho jayega. Affected can also be something positive. And through our work, imagine the power given to us by Bhagawan. Through our work, through whatever we do, we have the power to add glory to your name, Bhagawan. Thank you for this blessing. And never forget that our actions are ultimately his actions, because he is the doer. And my ultimate message that I have picked up, or insight that I have got today, is that whatever I do, what would Bhagawan do? And let us continue. Let us acknowledge Him as the doer, give precedence to Him, because God is, and what would Bhagawan do? And that makes life all the more simple. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here today. I invite Mr. Shri Ajit Popat to please present Nimish Uncle with a small token of our love and gratitude. It is just... Thank you so much. I also request Shanta Aunty to please come and felicitate Kamala Aunty.